The Atlantic Cox. Alright, sorry.
Oh my god. We're children here.
Cox with the X. God, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gamersgrove podcast, episode 24. Today is August 6th, 2018. We are your hosts, Will, Austin, and Brady.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody, and hello to all of you who are listening. If you're joining in for the first time, we are a gaming news podcast. That generally means we talk about the news, but we also talk about game industry stuff, you know, like companies acquiring other companies, stock trades, stuff like that, and we relay how that can affect you, the consumer. Outside of that, we just talk about stuff we also find interesting. Before we get into the news, we're going to talk about stuff we played this week. So, Austin, let's start with you. What'd you play this week?
Okay. This week I've been playing some of The Long Dark. It's a kind of keeping with the same theme as last week, or the week before, I guess, with the survival games. Right. So this, like The Forest that I spoke about last time, is a survival game that you crash land in a airplane. But this time it's in, I think, Canada, in the cold. And so you're basically alone, and you got to kind of survive and nurse yourself back to health because you got messed up from the crash. And so you're kind of stuck in a ravine. So you got to nurse yourself back to health and, yeah, get out of there. It's really... Go ahead.
I was going to say, that game's like really hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
when I played it maybe a year ago when it was in early access. It was hard. I could not stay alive for more than like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's really difficult. That's same here. I have had the game for a while, but I was horrible at it, so I never really played much of it. But I gave it another go, and so far I'm doing pretty good. It's kind of a strong learning curve, but now they have a story mode, which is the one I was talking about. Before it was just like a sandbox survival. You got plopped into the world and just survived as long as you could. But now they have a story mode, and it kind of teaches you how to survive along the way. It kind of gives you...
that's good.
Gives you it in steps almost. It's still pretty difficult. I had to restart once, but it's much easier than just jumping into it. So, yeah, maybe pick it back up and try it out.
Yeah, I guess I will. 'Cause I honestly had to stop because it was legitimately too hard. I couldn't. I'm not joking. I could not make it more than like 5 to 10 minutes in one run, and I gave up on the game because I couldn't do anything. But I'll check it out. Brady, what are you up to this week?
So this week, pretty much just this week, I guess, because I didn't really play much last week. I've been playing No Man's Sky. Yeah. Now, we've talked about it before, how they're having the big, or they had the big next update coming, and it happened. Came out last week, I think, or the 24th of July, and it's actually really good. The game's definitely playable now for me with third person, because before it was a first person FOV that was unplayable. And yeah, it's. I think this update was really needed. They did a good job with it. There's a couple small things that are really annoying still, but it's definitely playable now. I'm kind of interested to see what they're gonna do next with it. But yeah, No Man's Skies, it's actually a pretty good game now. This is like the game that they should have like released it as. This is the game stage they should have released it as, you know, when it came out. So it's good, but it's a couple years late.
Yeah, it's definitely like it now seems like more in line with everything Sean Murray said 2 years ago, back in 2016. I've been playing a lot of that too. It is very fun. One thing I will note, because this is honestly something I thought would change, but the game, I don't know why I thought this. The game's gameplay loop is still pretty much the same, which is, you know, explore, find resources, make upgrades, and discover stuff. So if you didn't like that like at all initially, that you're probably still not gonna like it. Like the game has made some much needed quality of life changes and just all that kind of stuff, but that core concept is still the same. So like I didn't like No Man's Sky when it came out because it was just there was nothing there. I liked that idea and the basic loop of it. It's just that there was so little content there. I gave up on it. Mm-hmm. So I still like it, and I think it's made a huge improvement.
And you can play with friends now, which does kind of break up the loop a bit because you could do stuff together in the base building.
Have you guys played together?
A little bit.
We did once, just kind of. We didn't do much. I just like joined his game and we said hi, and that was about it.
We were just getting the feel for it. Still.
Yeah. But we're not sure how. There's still some like weird things that like we're not sure how they work. Because I mean, like I joined Will, so like I was in a different system. So like if I, it's like what if I wanted to go back home or to my base? Like how would I do that when I'm in Will's game or I don't know, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, it No Man's Sky still does suffer from the problem of being incredibly vague about how everything works.
Yeah,
that hasn't changed at all. But yeah, it's same thing for me. That's all I've been playing this week. Yeah, I guess that's it. All right, well,
covers it for games.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. Well, moving on over to the news. Let's jump right into it. The first thing on our list, as announced like earlier today, Fallout 76 is not going to be on Steam. You will only be for PC, I should say. You will only be able to play it through Bethesda.net. I imagine they're going to have their own launcher.
Bethesda.net.
Is that what it's called?
No, I don't know. I'm just making a joke on Battle.net.
Right. I realized that way too late. Yeah, they're gonna have their own launcher like every company seems to do lately. It's just another one to add to the list. And I don't know. I guess it's a good and bad thing, I guess. Like Steam shouldn't be like the one launcher, It's never good for a company to have a monopoly like that. They already kind of do. But also, I gotta download another launcher. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, that's I was talking to Austin like off stream. Like it's like you want to play, Fortnite, Epic Games launcher. You want to play, something like Rainbow Six, like Ubisoft launcher. You want to play, something on Steam. Now it's like Bethesda. I got Bethesda launcher. So it's it is nice to have everything in one place, but I don't know. I could see why they want to do it. Just which I think this is the new thing because Steam takes like 30% or something to have it on there. So that's 30% of profits that they can't have.
Yeah,
and I mean that's kind of similar how like this is off topic about like Fortnite for Android isn't going to be on the Google Play Store because Google Play takes 30% of purchases and stuff. So I mean I'm sure it's the same thing, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, another thing about it is, it's going to be their first multiplayer game, Bethesda's, that is. So they might be just wanting to try some new things and get more of a audience on maybe a new launcher for future games. So
yeah, fair enough. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be like from here on out. Most likely, every Bethesda game is going to be on this. Their new Bethesda.net type platform. I don't see them like making this and then being like, you know what, we actually do just want to stay on Steam. Like expect Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 and everything else from here on out to be on this new launcher.
Unless it doesn't work out.
Unless somehow, some way it doesn't work out. But
well, I mean, I'm curious will they make that 30% up by not having it on Steam? Like, will enough people want the game that they won't, that they'll go to their website to download it and buy the game? Because, I mean, a lot of games for me, it's like I see it on Steam. I've never seen it before, and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. Like, I'll check it out. And then I'm like, okay, then I get it, I don't go to their website and like see like, oh, I wonder when, or this game's came out recently. I'll get it from their website.
Yeah, but Fortnite.
I mean, sure, but I feel like that's like
it's
not
like
even, that doesn't count.
Fortnite's its own thing.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but like Fallout is one of the most successful franchises, and Bethesda is just one of the most successful companies. I don't think, like, even if there are some people who are going to be like, well, I'm not going to get it because I don't want to not use Steam, or maybe just because they're confused and don't know where to get it. I don't think the number will be that big. Unless the only way I could see that really affecting it is if somehow this launcher is just like god awful to use.
Yeah.
And just too difficult to even launch the game, then yeah, maybe that might drive away some sales. But otherwise, like, I mean, hey, people are willing to put up with the Ubisoft launcher to play Rainbow Six, and that thing is terrible.
Yeah, that's so bad.
You know,
Yeah.
So I think Bethesda will be okay.
Yeah.
That's painful to use.
Mm-hmm. There's worse options out there, so we'll be all right. Moving on with a weird announcement. Well, I guess first and foremost, EVO just happened, which is the world's like biggest fighting game tournament. Basically, every fighting game that has some semblance of an audience gathers in, I believe, Vegas, and just has a huge fighting game tournament. Everything, any fighting game you can think of is probably shown at EVO. It's a huge deal. It's really awesome. It's super fun to watch. I was watching it all weekend. Oh yeah, that happened. And EVO is also a very common place for games to make announcements, or for fighting games at least. And we got a weird one from Bandai Namco's game Tekken 7. They announced that Negan from The Walking Dead is gonna be in Tekken 7.
What?
Yeah. What is right? I don't. This is weird only because this is like. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it's, at least for the time I've paid attention to the Tekken series, they've never really done things like this. Like a crossover from not just another franchise, but from like a TV show / comic book. That's like a Mortal Kombat thing to do, but not... I don't know. It's really weird, and I feel like he's going to be super out of place amongst all these mega anime-looking Japanese fighters.
That's exactly how I feel about it. And they didn't show any footage of the character at the end of the... Because they showed a couple other characters they're going to throw in, and then at the end it was like, Negan is going to be in, you know. But they just had some sound bites from The Walking Dead, and then some text, and then like a Walking Dead theme song overlaid on it, and then they didn't show any actual footage of a character. So I don't know. I just can't picture it. I'm interested to see how it looks though.
Yeah, I will definitely say I'm a little curious to see how this turns out. I mean, I don't think in any way it's going to take away from the game. It's just a weird pick, you know? It's definitely like, it's not uncommon, especially for Japanese game developers, to do like all sorts of crossovers. But usually it's like from one game to another, like, oh, you can have Monster Hunter gear in Final Fantasy, you know, stuff like that. Not, you know, this is just, it's very out of left field. And like we said, I don't think it's not like a bad thing. It's just very odd. But I guess we'll see. Maybe he'll be a great person to main and everybody will love it. And we're going to see nothing but Negan in our Tekken games from here on out. I don't know. Moving on. The next thing we have, Logitech has recently bought out Blue. Logitech, a company known for their computer stuff, bought out the Blue microphone. Most notably, they make the Blue Yetis, which is what I'm using right now. You know, I'm not good with this tech stuff, so why don't one of you guys tell me more about it?
You want to take it over, Brady?
Yeah, sure. So Logitech, you know, they make, I mean, they're known for their peripherals. I'm using their keyboard right now and their webcam. Mm-hmm. You know, they recently rebranded, and I'm sure this is part of it, but they, you know, bought Blue microphones, and, you know, as Will said, they're known for their the Yetis and Snowballs. Many streamers use it. That's probably, you know, where they get their most business from. But Logitech bought them for $117 million. Wow. I think it's like allegedly. I don't think it's an official number because it wasn't public. But yeah, they bought that. It seems like they're gonna kind of use the technology or Blue's microphone experience and implement it into their existing like headsets, and I'm sure there'll be some Logitech microphone, and like especially their webcams. I think if they put a nice microphone on the webcam, it'll be kind of set them apart.
Yeah.
But me personally, I've used Blue microphones a lot in the past. I have a microphone right now I just don't use from them. I think they're a good company, and I think they're unique in the way where, you know, the design and everything of their mics is very like retro style, and it's cool. But I don't think it's a bad thing that, you know, Logitech bought them. I think $117 million is a little like low for them personally. I mean, I swear, like everyone uses a Blue microphone like that streams and does YouTube, but I don't think it's like I don't think it's a bad thing as long as they stay somewhat independent. Like I don't want, like, I feel like if Logitech starts making like merging them too much, it'll kind of take away from like what Blue has built themselves. So I don't know. I guess we could see what's going to happen. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen like that.
Yeah. I think,
and
it'd be good if
they're both good companies,
stayed separate, and like you said, Logitech makes great peripherals already. They just don't make great microphones. They have, you know, microphones in their webcams and their headsets and stuff, but they're not the best quality. So if they just take Blue's technology and implement it into their products, and then also still let Blue do their own thing, then I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope at least that this deal is just going to be Blue microphones going to keep doing what they do, and instead of it saying Blue, they're going to slap a Logitech label on it, you know? Like, that'd be the best case. Like, let them be. They're very good at what they do. Don't try and force them to do other stuff that they're maybe not as experienced in. You know, hey, now it's your brand, you know? Just let them be. Rake in more money. There's some people voice concerns, but I don't think it'll be a bad thing overall. It's a merger that makes sense, and that's, you know, that's that.
Yeah, but I think it was worth, you know, it's not too gaming related, but I think it's worth noting just because of how much both of them have impacted, you know, like gaming and stuff in terms of
for sure,
like actual hardware. You know, we usually talk about the software and stuff, but this is, you know, just it's kind of off the beaten trail of what we normally talk about, but it's definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, all right then. Let's move on. Riot Games has announced that they would like to make more video games. And the interesting thing about this is that's really all there is. Like, there was an interview recently, and the co-founder, I will say, I don't actually know his full name. I have his Twitter handle, but it's just like
I think it's Mark Merrill.
Mark Merrill. Oh yeah. Mark Merrill, the co-founder of League of Legends and Riot Games, has announced that, or not announced, but said that they would like to expand and make more video games. He made a joking, maybe not, tweet about saying, like, should we build an MMO? You know, yay or nay? So now everyone's got their gears turning over a League of Legends MMO, which would be pretty interesting, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, League has some pretty in-depth lore that I know nothing about, so it'd be kind of cool to like experience some of it in MMO form because I can't play that game. But you know, it looks like they finally do want to expand. They're not going to ride off of the League money train anymore.
Yeah.
I personally think, I think that this is partly due to the fact that MOBAs are kind of falling off now. I'm sure League still has a huge player base. Like, half the coworkers in my office play League of Legends during their lunch breaks, you know? Like, I don't think they're suffering, but maybe there's numbers are dwindling a bit. And I mean, maybe not. This is just my theory, but like, I think that maybe they're preparing for the inevitable that, you know, one day League is probably gonna fade off as trends come and go, you know. we were in the MOBA trend and now we're in a battle royale thing, you know, and then the next and the next and the next, eventually people are going to stop playing League, or nowhere near as many as they do right now. So maybe they're preparing for that. I don't know. It could just be that, you know, game developers like making video games, so it wouldn't be surprising that they want to make another video game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much that. Like, they literally have made, you know, Riot Games have only made League of Legends, and that's it. And I'm sure that, the trend, like you said, is, you know, Battle Royale, but I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, if Battle Royale dies, you know, like, League's just kind of like the thing that's just always there. And it'll just kind of come back up, you know, I'm sure they have, like, good and bad seasons of player count and stuff, but talk more about, like, if they were to actually make an MMO, what would it be like? I'm curious to know as far as that, you know, like, do you think it'd be like almost like a top down kind of like RuneScape type, or would it be like, you know, WoW, like,
I feel like that wouldn't
third
work
person
nowadays.
I don't know, but like I know, like, the mobile game Lineage Revolution 2 is like top down like that, and that's kind of, and some of the other ones are in a way like that too.
Well, I'm gonna read a semi-lengthy quote from Mark Merrill that kind of answers that question, and then we'll tear more into it after I read it. So, quote, "The question that is really interesting and relevant is, what does the future of MMOs look like? I think we have a view, other players have a view, or others have a view, players have a view. World of Warcraft continues to be a dominating game. There's a really good argument that going head-on-head with WoW may not be the best move, but who knows? We're exploring a lot of stuff, thinking about a lot of stuff." So that quote tells me two thing. I will go with the assumption that they are going to develop an MMO. I think it's saying that, it, like you said, it'd be a huge risk. Like, it's a risky move to play against World of Warcraft. This is actually a discussion I was having with my coworkers the other day of, like, every person who likes MMOs, their initial thought, and even a continued thought that they're going to have as they try out any new MMO, is going to be, why am I playing this when I could play World of Warcraft?
Yeah,
because the reality of it is, even if you don't like that fantasy genre, Blizzard has refined and shaped the MMO genre to be what it is, and they are really good at it. You know, they have all the systems and mechanics and everything that makes an MMO fun. They have it locked down. So anybody's first question is going to be, or just their first thoughts are going to be, comparing it to World of Warcraft and see that does this game do this thing better or worse than WoW? Most of the time, the answer is worse.
Yeah,
and even sometimes, like, when it's not, like, you get the cases like Star Wars: The Old Republic, which was a basically a carbon copy of World of Warcraft's mechanics. That fell off too because, you know, WoW and Blizzard kept evolving the idea and changing mechanics up and left them behind in the dust, and now nobody plays Star Wars anymore. I don't know. I think, well, I would like, if they do make an MMO, to take it in a radically different turn. If they just make it like World of Warcraft, it's not gonna succeed, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, though, because, like, whenever we, like, debate or talk about other MMOs, we always compare it to WoW. Like, that's just how it is.
It's like the baseline for MMOs.
Yeah, which that could be a whole other discussion too. But I don't know. I think it's good that they're branching out, but I think taking on an MMO is a really big risk, especially, I guess they have the money and stuff, but I feel like they'd want to do something kind of safe as a second game, just to, like, test the waters of not making a MOBA, you know, because I wonder if they'd use their existing developers and stuff, or if they'd actually get new people on. And I mean, because I wonder if they probably hired, like, specifically, like, for, you know, like, MOBA, or maybe they have MOBA that, like, balancing experience, or MOBA something, you know, just it's all kind of revolves around the battle arena. So
like, I can tell you from experience looking at applications at Riot, at least right now, you need to know how to play League. Like, you need to really understand and know that game if you want to work there, which makes sense. You know, that's their game. They'd want their developers to know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most of the people there are MOBA players and know how to develop MOBA games. So it's going to be, no matter what kind of game they make, it's new territory for everybody at Riot. And yeah, MMO games are very expensive to make. You know, and they have the money that they can take a blow, even if it does, you know, not do as well as they hope. But yeah, that's a huge investment and challenge to be your company's second ever game. You know, I don't know. I think it's still very interesting. I kind of hope they do an MMO. Yeah, I'm always looking for new MMOs to play. I would love to see, you know, another big company put their spin on it and see what they do. But I don't know. I mean, it really could be anything. You know, they didn't hint at anything. Even this, like I said, the whole MMO tweet is kind of jokey and not like super serious, or maybe shouldn't be taken too seriously. So who knows? It's out there. MMO would be cool. Riot, you know, I'd go for it. But we will have to wait and see.
Famous words right there.
Famous last words.
Next up on our list, funny thing, I put this one on our list because I thought it was happening, but it turns out it hasn't happened yet. But I'll mention it anyways because I'm excited. Monster Hunter World is out on the 9th on PC. The game originally came out this year, January 26th or 28th. This is kind of a big deal just because it's the first ever Monster Hunter game to be on PC. And Monster Hunter is like a fairly popular Japanese RPG game that's, as the name states, all about hunting big monsters. This one in particular has, I think, sold better than any of their other Monster Hunter games. And it's probably about to blow that number way out of the water once it releases on PC. But yeah, I put that on our list because I thought it came out today or yesterday, but I was wrong. But friendly reminder, the 9th, 3 days. That's all there's to say. Moving on. Netease, a company we have talked about before, kind of I don't know if rival's the right word, but a company like Tencent.
Yeah, they're like the second in line, pretty much.
Right. They will be taking over publishing for EVE Online's one and only Chinese server, and they are also working on a mobile version of EVE. So Brady, you are always the man who knows about this stuff.
Sure.
What does this really mean? So
pretty much EVE Online has been EVE, everyone's on the same server. So the United States ones, or the non-Chinese ones called Tranquility, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And in 2006 they opened up a Chinese one for the Chinese market called Serenity, and they pretty much partnered with Netease to open it up there. And they've been working and maintaining this together for pretty much since it's opened. And as of recent, CCP said that Netease is pretty much going to be taking over the whole entire Serenity server and be publishing and managing it themselves. I think because TCP has mentioned like they want to start other projects, not necessarily in gaming, but they even said like TV shows or like other things that just kind of to expand the brand of EVE.
Wow.
Because I mean, EVE's a really old game, and they're pretty, I think in my opinion, they're pretty stagnant on the player base. And so they they want to grow some, and so that's why they're kind of letting Netease take over on the Serenity server. They said they want to match the concurrent player count of the Tranquility server to the Serenity server to the Tranquility server, so have as many Chinese players as they do all the other people around the world by, I think they said like 2020 or something, in like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
But they're also making a mobile game which is primarily targeted towards the Chinese market called Eve Project Galaxy, and they actually announced this, I think, like January or earlier this year sometime, but now they're pretty much kind of talking about it more and saying, they said like stuff, quote unquote, in detail, but it's pretty broad about what they're saying, just how they want to kind of match how the PC experience is and with its complexity, but, make it simple enough that you can play on your phone and so people can play anywhere, and all the same, pretty much every mobile game shoots for. Mm-hmm. But my opinions on the mobile game, though, are, like, I think it's going to be extremely hard to transfer this game to a mobile device, just because it's, on the computer, it's extremely complicated. Like, there's a huge learning curve to be able to play this. And I don't know if people on on your phone really want to get over that. Like, unless it's going to be a completely different game where it's not necessarily going to take everything from PC and just transfer it to mobile.
I mean,
where it might be like something different. I mean, I think to an extent, but I don't know how. They haven't really said exactly what, but I'm not sure what they're gonna do for the mobile game.
The only thing I'm thinking about right now that would kind of confirm that it's gonna be different is they're saying they want to grow their numbers, right? If they split them between mobile and PC and they made them both the same exact thing, then that would kind of cut their numbers down. Unless they're talking about just overall using their games.
Oh, well, I mean, I think they're just talking about that server, the Serenity server for PC. Okay. So I think it's separate, but like if this may be played similar to that, so it might be on that Serenity server, so I don't know.
So something interesting to know, I'm trying to read a bit more to understand this. CCP is also developing another game called Eve War of Ascension, which is another also mobile game being co-developed with Congregate.
Really?
And they describe War of Ascension as designed from the ground up to be a mobile game that gives a taste of the Eve universe. So War of Ascension is going to be a completely different game. Whereas Project Galaxy, it says, Project Galaxy's aim is to bring the actual 3D feel of the desktop version of Eve to mobile. So it sounds like, for the most part, probably some slight differences, but this Project Galaxy is just going to be Eve Online on your phone.
Yeah. Wait. Okay, I found another quote. This is... I'm not even going to try and say his name, but it's the guy who works at CCP. Okay. It says, Eve Project Galaxy is closely based on the gameplay principles of Eve Online, but does not tie in directly at a mechanical level. It is its own separate instance of New Eden, based on the original PC game, but not connected to it. Right now, you can't start an account on PC, then carry on to mobile, although that would be a dream scenario. So it looks like it will be separate, but... That's actually... I don't know how I feel about that now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, on Eve, sometimes it takes a while to, build up, like, a good amount of wealth and, like, reputation. And, like, why would I want to just, if I want to continue playing, like, drop it all and, like, just to, play on the bus ride or the subway or something.
Right. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was saying, if you start on mobile, you're not going to want to go onto PC as well, and vice versa. So it's going to split your numbers between those two servers or whatever. And so it kind of goes against growing your numbers exponentially, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be different audiences, though. Like, like mobile players, I'm sure don't play on the PC as much, and kind of the other way around. Yeah. So I don't know. And I mean, the Chinese market could be completely different.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's just, I don't know. It is interesting because it seems almost like they're splitting their audience.
Yeah. I mean, the mobile market's definitely bigger in China, in my opinion. So
it's not to get super off topic, but I was just reading some of the quarterly reports for Activision the other day, and or Activision Blizzard, I should say. King, the company behind Candy Crush, makes like 10 times the amount of money compared to like Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. Like they blow them out of the water in how much money they make. It's insane. Mobile games make so much money.
Yeah, another off-topic thing. Lineage Revolution 2 just said that in the past 2 years that they've made like $1.2 billion just in transactions on mobile, which it's a mobile game, so just in transactions from players. Yeah. So yeah,
that's the business.
Everybody's got a cell phone. Yeah, mobile. Mobile's the place to be. Jeez. Yep. Oh God, that's a scary future where there's only mobile games.
I mean, I don't think it'd be only mobile games. It'd be like seamless transition from mobile to PC. It's one and the same.
Yeah.
We're getting close to that. I mean, phones, processors nowadays, they have tablets that are better than my PC right now. So we're there.
Yeah, that is true. There's some pretty high-tech phones and tablets and stuff out there now. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's not far off. I can play old computer games on my phone if I really wanted to. So
true.
Who knows? But yeah, to reel it back in, Netease is... I was kind of surprised just that they are doing like... So this implies they're going to be doing developer-y stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm assuming.
Which, again, it falls into the same question I've had with like Tencent, is like, who are these guys? What do they do? Or they seemingly just do everything, you know?
Yeah.
I guess they also are game developers.
Multimedia company, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It's interesting that, you know, maybe I'm just only started paying attention to it and I'm noticing it, but it seems like these companies are just kind of coming up and swallowing up everything.
Yeah.
You know? So I wonder where we'll be in another couple years of them acquiring more people.
Yeah, and I mean, it could just be, you know, mostly just as like a liaison, almost just a public, just to get games into China or the, you know, especially with Tencent and stuff too.
Very true. Very true. Well, all right. Moving on. Blizzard has announced they are adding 2 more teams to the Overwatch League. These teams are, oh my God, I can't pronounce that.
I could say
Guangzhou?
Yeah, Guangzhou.
Guangzhou and Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
God, I butchered that. I'm sorry. These two I guess I don't know like many of the details about it, but it's nice that, you know, there's more Overwatch League teams going to be in the league. You know, this is what they needed now that season 1 I think is officially done. I actually don't know much about where they're going to go from here, but
yeah.
Tell me more about it if you know, Brady.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to link I didn't fix the article links, but
That's okay.
Yeah, so Guangzhou's in China, Atlanta's in Georgia, in the United States. Mm-hmm. But they're adding 2 more teams, which is, I think it's pretty big. They wanted to add more teams in the future. Mm-hmm. This is for season 2. But more importantly, like the back end of, you know, who owns these is, so Atlanta is backed by Cox Enterprises, who, you know, many of you probably Cox as your internet provider. They have Cox Communications, but they own other companies, and another company called Province Inc., who I think they're just some like financial something. It's pretty broad what I found online. Right. And then Guangzhou is, you know, backed and owned by the Nenking Group, who owns a basketball team in Guangzhou. So, you know, some more sports origins. But so something that I thought was crazy was in the first season, a franchise spot for the Overwatch League, you know, so a city pretty much cost as much as $10 million, that was like the average of what was rumored to be. And I thought that was insane amount of money. So there's like 12 teams or something in the Overwatch League. So, you know, $10 million a pop, that's like $120 million, you know, right there. Like, that's crazy money for something that hasn't even started yet to buy in a spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Overwatch League pulls a decent amount of viewers, and and everything. But I mean, and I think there's some like revenue sharing or something in the contract. So they might make their money back, but they're don't take into account like the player salaries and making most of the players make 6 figures and stuff, so they're still dishing out a lot of money.
Yeah, it's definitely a ton of money that they're throwing out for this.
Yeah, but so the second season's franchise spots are rumored. So a source is the one who actually leaked that Guangzhou and Atlanta are being added, and then that same source, they've been correct on this, and the article said that they've been correct in the past on other information, but they said that the franchise spot could cost as much as $20 to $30 million in one of them, because they're going to announce more teams. That it costs up to $60 million for a franchise spot. Like that's like you're getting into like real sports money. Like this is a lot of money for a franchise spot.
It's still nothing compared to real sports, though.
I mean, sure, but I mean, if you think about it, though, like this is only the second season of this thing, and no one, like, at least publicly, no one knows how much money that these teams are actually making. Like, is $60 million that much worth it? And this is another thing. Let's say like Optic Gaming owns the Houston Outlaws, but Optic Gaming cannot use the Optic Gaming name for their team. They have to create a whole new like IP essentially. So they're you could say they're representing the Optic Gaming brand, but some half the people don't even know that because Optic Gaming isn't using their actual name. So like Cox, it can't name it like the Atlantic Cox. All right, sorry.
Oh my god. We're children here.
But they can't name that the Cox with the X. God, guys. Name it that to
yeah.
Represent kind of like name. Yeah, to like advertise the Cox Communications, like essentially advertise themselves. The same as like any other brand, like Kraft Group owns like I think the New York Excelsiors. They can't advertise the Kraft Group by naming it that. So that's something that I think is another like crazy thing. Is it's like the whole point is that represent the brand, but you have to make a new brand in order to start to buy a franchise spot, which is a risk in itself. Like who roots for the Shanghai Dragons, whatever? Like they haven't even won a game last season. I don't think so.
Yeah, not a single. Ooh,
yeah, so hopefully Guangzhou could pick it up, but yeah, I think it's interesting, this politics and business behind the Overwatch League, and the fact that it's really secretive. Like nothing is public for it, so it's really it's just everything's behind closed doors, all negotiations, and Nate Nanzer's like has a fist down on what gets out and what doesn't. So
yeah, it's definitely like it's crazy, and it is a step in the right direction. We talked about Overwatch League is kind of like the gateway to people taking esports more seriously. And I mean, even still, Overwatch League has been around for what, about a year now, maybe.
Yeah.
And even still, they were running games Wednesday to Saturday every week, and each one of those days pulled in about 100,000 people watching. That's just on Twitch. That's not accounting for anywhere else people might be watching. So there's an interest in it for sure, and it shows. That they've got all sorts of sponsors. I know Jack in the Box, Sour Patch. I think even like T-Mobile,
HP. I think Intel too. Like
they have like real legit sponsors, and it's only gonna get up from here. These buy-in spots or whatever it is are probably gonna just skyrocket as it gets more popular.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention how we talked about previously how it's gonna. Oh wait, no, we actually didn't talk about this. This is on our Scrap podcast, but how it's actually going to be on ESPN, ABC, Disney. So that's because I was just going to mention that the next thing is getting outside of Twitch, because Twitch is very specific audience when they need to get all the normies and the casuals who don't watch esports, to interest them into it. And so next season,
I totally forgot that was in
it's going to be on like ESPN2, like Disney XD, and ABC. So
yeah, like regular people can see it. You could watch it at a bar if you wanted to.
Yep.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, man. Shout out to Blizzard for making this all happen, because like Brady said, this is all kind of like, a lot of this is behind closed doors, so we don't know the details of it. But I can guarantee you that Blizzard poured in a ton of money out of their own pocket to like make this happen.
Oh, definitely.
So they really put a leg out.
I'm sure they've made
are
it
making
back.
this up. Oh yeah, for sure. But they took, I guess I'll say, they took the risk in making this investment, and it has paid off big time, and is going to continue to just more and more pay off for them and for everybody.
Yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
Good content.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to our last thing. This is a bit of a pretty minor piece of news, but it sparks an interesting debate, I will say. The developers for Darksiders, don't give me that look. The developers for Darksiders 3 have said that they are going to focus more on gameplay than story for their next game, Darksiders 3. This comes after, I guess, Darksiders 1. How should I do this? Explain the Darksiders franchise. It's basically a type of game where you go to a room, you fight a bunch of monsters with big crazy combos and stuff. You upgrade your guy so you can do more crazy combos and cool moves, and you fight bosses. And that's the gist of the game. It's like Dante's Inferno. That's not the right thing. There is a game about that fits this, but I'm thinking of something else. Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry, yeah, okay.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
It's like that. There is a Dante's Inferno game. It's like that same kind of style. And in the second one, I guess they added a lot more RPG type stuff, and people didn't really like that. So now they're bringing it back to say, hey, we're going to focus on mechanics first, get solid gameplay. You can really fight those monsters in every way you want to, and story second. And this is where the debate comes in. The classic, maybe not classic, the classic Gamersgrove debate of which is more important, gameplay or story. I am all about gameplay and mechanics. I think a game, first and foremost, needs to be a game and have really solid mechanics that are fun to play. Because I always use this example. The Last of Us is an example of a game with a fantastic story that I could not finish because I found its gameplay and mechanics to be so atrocious and unfun.
And I disagree with you on that. And
most people disagree with me.
Some people disagree with me. I don't know. I feel like story plays a big part, and gameplay does as well, but each have their place. And I feel like one can make up for the other. So if you have a lacking story, you can make up for it with gameplay. And then if you have lacking gameplay, not to say your game doesn't work. Like if a game is not functional, that's a whole different story. But saying you have a functional game and then I feel like story, I feel like story trumps most of the time. It can make up for some less than fun gameplay if you have a intense story behind it.
Well, do you guys think this matters like only in a game with a story?
Well, yeah. See, that's the point I was actually going to get into. Is this is also not fully, but somewhat case by case. If a person developed their game, like think of a game like The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. There really isn't much gameplay there to begin with. Like they designed the game for its story. It is a story game. And so that's kind of an example of where, you might say like, well, story is more important because there really isn't any gameplay to go off of. I mean, even the same case with this, like Darksiders 3, like I said, is that kind of Devil May Cry type of game, which is all about pulling off big combos and taking on like hundreds of demons all at once and just making cool moves. And that's what people play this game for. Sure, there is a story and some people may be interested in it, but I guarantee you the majority of people who are fans of Darksiders aren't playing it because they're super stoked to see, what the next installment of the story is going to be.
Right.
they're doing it to see the new moves and combos and stuff.
Yeah, in this instance, then yeah, definitely it is the mechanics that matter, because that is what your audience wants. That's what you started with. You can't go changing the core base of a game, halfway.
You do have to know your audience.
Its series.
Mm-hmm. But I guess to counter myself, even in it is about like knowing what you are. Your game can't have an identity crisis, or then it just becomes a total mess.
Mm-hmm.
But even the people, I don't want people to mistake what I'm saying for like, oh, if a game's not action packed and it's boring, then Will isn't gonna like it. I mean it in a way of its mechanics need to be solid and do what they set out to do. Vanishing of Ethan Carter is, more or less a walking simulator. No, sorry, I know it's a negative term, but it kind of is. It does have some investigation stuff.
Yeah, investigation mechanics in it.
Yeah, and it does that well, which is what I like. If it didn't do that well, if the investigation or even if the walking were a pain to do, I wouldn't play it. It is, even in a game like that, I still take the mechanics first. It's not about like it's not about high intensity or action or anything like that. It just needs to be solid, and it needs to feel good. It needs to be like fun to play, even if that is just moving around and doing a little bit of investigation, or if that's, blowing up 1,000 demons all at once with some super cool move. Like whatever it may be, I think the mechanics have got to be there for me to play the video game.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's a fair statement, but I just want to put you on the spot real fast.
Do it.
What is your gripe with The Last of Us? Because I feel like mechanically that was pretty solid. Their crafting could have been better. The crafting UI was kind of crap, but other than that, I think it was...
I guess I'll say I don't think it was bad. Like, the mechanics and the gameplay of The Last of Us were not bad. They just were pretty mediocre and, to me, not fun. The first example that comes to mind is any combat. Like, stealth was, whatever. Stealth was stealth. But any, like, actual combat I had to do, I thought was awful. And this is a gripe I actually have with Naughty Dog in general. I think their combat is terrible. Uncharted, I can barely get through those games because I hate their shooting mechanics and the way their combat is. It's just... the enemies run around, and it's in The Last of Us especially, it's like hyper realistic, like type of dark gritty game, and then you run into these bullet sponge guys that you gotta pump a bunch of bullets into, and all this stuff, and I feel like it breaks up the vibe of the game. And I guess, people could counter me and say, well, be better and be stealthy, like, because that would fit the vibe better, and I agree, it would. But even then, like, I feel like there wasn't much to the stealth besides, like, sneak around, choke out a guy, or sneak around and shiv a guy until there's no one left and you can move on, and that's like, I don't know. I just think mechanically it fell on its face pretty hard. I will say, though, especially, with The Last of Us 2 coming out pretty soon, I do intend to play The Last of Us again, and I am genuinely curious to see if my thoughts will hold up. My feelings on The Last of Us. Maybe this time around I'll be so interested in the story that I will just suffer through it. Not to make myself sound like a hypocrite, but I did do that with Uncharted.
Hey, you reserve the right to change your mind at any time, Will.
Yeah.
We as humans get to do that.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a very fun debate to have because, I feel like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing through some tinted glasses or whatever, but I feel like this is a pretty split audience of, like, some people are like me and they're all about, mechanics come first over everything, and then there's the other people where story comes first and story trumps, everything. If you have a great story, then the mechanics don't matter. But I don't know. For me, I guess I would really, this is something, I guess, to be off topic for a split second, this is something we do want to have like a really long debate about.
Yeah, definitely.
Like when we have our thoughts like really well gathered.
And it's not super late at night and we can actually think coherently.
Yeah. We have a planned like thing for this. But I guess I will just say that like it needs to be solid for me. I can't, like, at the end of the day, a game is a game, and I'm playing it, you know? If I wanted just to experience a good story and nothing else, I'll go watch a movie. You know, if I want to interact and, like, play something, that I've got to have fun playing it, regardless of whether the story is good or not.
And that's just where it differs, because I would love an interactive movie, and that's, you know, I'm a guy who plays walking sims, so...
Yeah,
that's just, we'll just leave it at that.
To say one last note, because me saying that could also spark another huge debate of, you know, games being an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing to touch on. Yep. You know, games don't have to be fun or be games, because it is a new art medium, and I agree with that part, at least, that games are becoming an art form as well as an entertainment medium. But those are all huge discussions for another day. We just wanted to tease you with the reality that we are very split there, and we'll have something planned for that in the future. But let's go ahead and wrap up. That covers all of our news for the day. We're going to go into our final segment, This Week in Games. It was called This Day in Games, but it became way too hard to find something for just this day, so we've expanded it to this week. Basically, we find stuff that happened on this week in games at any point in time, just, you know, within this week, and we tell you about it. So I will start it off. This week in games, August 3rd, 2004, Doom 3 came out. Doom 3 was terrible. Doom 3 really is kind of infamously known for straying away from the Doom concept. You know, Doom was all about, you know, like I was saying, run into a room and kill a bunch of demons and just be a general badass and fight off the monsters of hell. Whereas Doom 3 got caught up in the whole survival horror wave of things and totally redesigned what the game was and had a bit of an identity crisis that became the mess that is Doom 3. And that came out on the 3rd, so... cool. That's that.
This week in games, August 6th, back in 2009, Call of Duty World at War Map Pack 3 came out. And this is the biggest map pack in all of the Call of Duties for me. This was the Derise map pack for zombies, and that's really what got me into Call of Duty to begin with. I wasn't huge on the multiplayer scene at first. I just really loved the idea of zombies and all the Easter eggs hidden in it, and I feel like that really sparked off with the Derise map. The story kind of started to develop from that map. Yeah, I spent way too much time playing that game, but
World at War was also the first ever Call of Duty game to do zombies, right? They like kind of started that.
Yeah, it was. It was the first COD.
And that's, you know, now as most people are well aware, when people think of Call of Duty, they almost always also think of zombies. Like, it's become a huge staple point in Call of Duty games.
Yep.
You know. So,
definitely.
Deal. All right, Brady, what you got?
All right, yeah, this week in games on August 6th, 2008, Braid came out. Braid it's probably one of the first big indie titles that really kind of took everything, like a lot for indie developers at least. Really kind of motivated them just because of how successful it was, like Braid and Super Meat Boy and a couple others, but it's a kind of a comfy puzzle game made by Jonathan Blow, who also made The Witness.
Yes.
And it's a good game, has like interesting music. It's the concept is really nice, and it's, you know, kind of like you could change the time. He was like motivated by like Prince of Persia. So yeah, it's a nice indie game. It was in a documentary too called Indie Game the movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's actually a really great documentary as well. It shows behind the scenes of the movie as well. Would definitely recommend check out too. Yeah, Braid's a nice little indie game.
You guys, I never saw that movie.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Oh yeah, it was on Netflix for a while.
Yeah, I remember.
It's probably one of my favorite documentaries.
I never watched it. I don't know why.
You should watch it.
I'll watch it. I promise.
Just to add something really quick to Braid, and the reason it is so it was so successful and so well known, and why Jonathan Blow is such a well-known name in the game industry. Like Brady said, it was kind of the first indie game to make it big, but not only that, it was within that it showed that games can be more than what we think they are. You know, it broke away from the trend. You know, Jonathan Blow paid for this out of his pocket, almost, according to this, it says it was a personal critique of the contemporary trends within game development. He did something at the time which was very different from the type of games that were coming out, and proved that, hey, we don't all need to follow trends and make the same thing to be successful. Look at this game I made. It's crazy, it's different, and it was a success. And that, like we've said over and over, it kind of in a way got the whole indie games ball rolling to what it is now. And now indie games are all about how do we take a concept and just twist and turn it and form it into this totally different thing that nobody's ever seen. And that, that's what it's all about, and that's what makes indie games so great. Is almost all indie games are very unique and different from what we see within the AAA. But yeah, that's a pretty awesome one, and a very staple and important game to the games industry and where we are right now. But all right, that wraps up the show for today. Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to keep up with us, we're in the usual places. It'll be in the description. And
join the Discord.
Yeah, join our Discord. It's just us rambling and yelling at each other all the time.
Yeah.
We'd love to have more people to yell at. Sometimes we play games. It's a little busy right now, but we try when we can. But we're always chatting. So yeah, come hang out. Come tune in to us next week if you want to watch us live, or, on Wednesday when the podcast comes out. But thank you all for listening. We do appreciate your support, and we will see you next time.
The Atlantic Cox. Alright, sorry.
Oh my god. We're children here.
But they can't, name that the Cox with the X. God, guys.